Welcome back to the Manc Entrepreneur YouTube channel, and in today's episode I'm sharing with you my top 3 books that are a must read for any entrepreneur. Now, I've always been a big reader. I've loved reading since, well, from whenever I can remember, really. But if you're watching this and thinking, I'm not really that into books, I would say don't worry. For every one of the 3 books that I'm going to mention, there's also an Audible version which you can listen to at your own time while you're doing whatever it is that you do. These aren't storybooks. These are books which will teach you about entrepreneurship, about business, and about life in general. So you can just listen to them as you go about your daily grind. You don't have to try and follow a story. Obviously, why would I be recommending storybooks to you? But with that said, let's get straight into it. Now, the first book I don't actually have a hard copy of. My dad lent it to me to read, and then I downloaded it myself through a Kindle version. But I'll put a link here, and it is How to Influence and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Now, this book is, let me check, not all of these books are overly recent, but they are still entirely relevant in today's day and age. And this book was first published in 1937, and yeah, I read it, and yeah, by all means, some of the stories and analogies which he uses in the book are a little old, talking about presidents from back then. However, the story and the reasons behind them, the lessons that he's teaching, are entirely relevant today. Remember, this is a time before the internet, but the life lessons for business and how to deal with people are still 100% accurate. Now, my dad first tried to get me to read How to Influence and Influence People when I was probably about 10 years old. Now, I'll be honest, when I was 10, I didn't get it. It wasn't probably what I wanted to read as a 10-year-old, and it didn't hold my interest. I then tried to read it again when I was either 16 or 17, when I was in college. And it was just like, mind blown by what he was talking about. And I remember reading it going, I know this. A lot of it is almost common sense, but then when you think about it, you don't action it. You get stuck in this loop of being a human and only caring about, yourself a lot of the time. And that is what How to Influence and Influence People is all about. It's not about hypnosis and how to trick people into liking you. No, it's about appealing as a human to another human and putting your best foot forward. And it's that which is the huge lesson in this book. It's how you can appeal to other people who meet you for the first time. And there's a fantastic story which he tells where he was in a party situation, and he gets talking to this woman, and he asks her maybe 3 questions and just lets her talk. And he asks her about her and about how her work and her life, and makes all the right noises and movements. Like, yeah, okay, tell me more about that, blah, blah, blah. And later on, in the next few days, someone says, oh, such and such a body mentioned you saying what such a great conversationalist you are. And he laughed because he'd barely spoken a word, but this woman who he was speaking to thought he was such a good conversationalist purely because he was giving her his time to listen. And there's a lot more lessons in the book along those sort of lines which you can learn. And remember, in business, people do business with people that they like. Regardless of if you're an online business or a bricks and mortar business, your personality will come across and you will have to deal with people at some point. So I think in my life, the biggest book which has had the biggest impact is How to Influence and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, and I urge you to go and read it. Next up, number 2. I actually do have a copy of number 2 because I got this before I actually got a Kindle or an iPad. And this is the 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. I will make it clickable. So yeah, the 4-Hour Workweek. What I would say, it gets some hate, the 4-Hour Workweek, and I can sort of see why. It's almost a bit of a clickbaity title. It's a little bit misleading, because I can tell you right now, I work more than 4 hours a week. So if that was what the aim is, I've failed. But the larger lessons as part of that book are huge. Tim Ferriss came from relative obscurity to being a household name in a lot of entrepreneur circles because of this book. And in it, he tells how he started his businesses and reached burnout, and how he then wanted to try and fix that. And if you've ever heard of Tim and some of the work he does post 4 Hour Workweek, you can see how he works. He deconstructs things. He wants to know every single detail about how they work and see if he can make it better. And that's exactly what he did with business in the 4 Hour Workweek. He realized he didn't need to be touching every aspect of the business. I think this was the first time I'd come across the term VA, or virtual assistant, and like I say, I now have one. It is a huge difference. I don't look at my emails very much. The couple which do need my attention, I see, but trust me, getting rid of emails on the day-to-day in business is a huge win. And like I said, there's so many other tips and tricks in the 4 Hour Workweek which Tim shares. Again, for any online entrepreneur, any business that's running in the online space, I would say this is very important to read. Again, the 4 Hour, don't get hung up on the title, get hung up on how to set goals, how to reach targets, and how to deconstruct business and make it work for you rather than you working for the business. Very good book. And finally, number 3, again, I only have a Kindle copy of it, so I will put a link here, and that is Crush It by Gary Vaynerchuk. Now, what I do have by Gary Vaynerchuk is his latest book. At the time of writing this, I'm sure he'll write another one. And this is Jab, 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 Right Hook. And it is, this book is a little bit more about social media marketing. It's fantastic. I actually got to meet Gary Vaynerchuk down in London. I even got him to sign it, which is very cool. I like this book just for that reason. It's got great memories attached to it. But that's about social media, and very useful if you are interested in social media marketing and how to do and how not to do social media on the different platforms. However, Crush It was one of his earlier pieces, and that is where he talks so much about how to start off online, how to build an online business doing something that you love. And it resonated with me so much when I read it. You can't not be motivated by Gary Vaynerchuk. If you are sat at home, on the couch watching The Walking Dead, and you've read that and Crush It doesn't make you want to get up and go and do stuff, doesn't make you want to go and build a business, go and create something for yourself, you're not an entrepreneur. Because I don't see how anyone could not be motivated by Crush It. And hearing about Gary's story and where he's come from and how he's like the entrepreneur of entrepreneurs, the guy he doesn't stop. If you follow him on Snapchat, you'll see the guy I don't know how he sleeps, but he just eats, drinks, breathes, sleeps business and entrepreneurship. And just by trying to gain what you can from Crush It, it will put you in the right frame of mind, and instead of seeing obstacles, you'll see opportunities. And that would be the big takeaway that I got from Crush It. Was it just tells a story about how you can go and make it happen, not to be scared, to just go and get it. And you've probably heard me use the term Crush It in the Mondays Don't Suck episodes. He's like, it's go and crush Mondays. It basically comes from Gary Vaynerchuk and Crush It. I love the book. It's fantastic. You should definitely read it. So with that said, those are my top 3 books for any budding entrepreneur, and I would love it. I want to hear from you. Have you read any of the 3 books that I've mentioned? What do you think of them? Do you have any book recommendations for me? Like I said, I love to read. I'm always looking for new books in the sort of entrepreneur business space to read. So if you have any suggestions, again, please let me know down below. I'd love to hear from you. And yeah, if you have found this episode useful, let me know. Please hit the thumbs up button below. And with that said, I'll leave you to go and crush the rest of your day. Nice plug there. And with that said, I'll see you in the next video.